My sister, whom I fully provided for and fed, took my husband from me and married herself. I asked her, "Why did you do that?" The nurse with a displeased face said, "I've hated you all my life. My name is Anna. I am 23 years old. I live in a small village among gentle hills and endless pastures. This village was my home. My days began with the sunrise, which led me to cow pastures. The air was fresh and the ground was still covered with dew. I gathered the cows and let them graze on the juicy green grass. While they chewed contentedly, I sat next to them, often immersed in my thoughts. The rhythmic sound of their chewing and the gentle ringing of bells created a soothing symphony, accompanied by the distant singing of birds welcoming the coming of day. It was in these serene moments that I found solace, despite the fatigue of my routine. Each cow had its own name and a pronounced character. There was Daisy, a gentle girl who was always the first to rub her nose against my hand. Then there was Rosie, who had a stubborn nature, but a heart of gold. And Bessie, a mischievous girl who often misled others. Milking was both a chore and a pleasant pastime. The cows became my companions, listening to my thoughts in whispers while the milk filled the bucket. Later, I carried heavy buckets back to the village, the fruits of my labor, which brought me a modest income. And yet, despite the long hours of work and the meager salary, the work brought a sense of satisfaction. The connection I felt with the earth, cows, and the rhythms of nature was inextricable. And when the sun sank below the horizon, I returned home tired, but satisfied. Let me introduce you to my sister, Diana, the backbone of our little family. After our mother fought cancer, our life changed dramatically. After the death of our mother, we had a small house and a plot of land. It was a harsh legacy, a reminder of our losses, but also a testament to our strength. My sister Diana, only a few years older than me, carried a huge burden. She continued her education at the university, striving to create a future that would free us from the shadows of our past. Her dreams of a bright tomorrow were fueled by her relentless dedication to her studies. In her quest for knowledge, my sister took on the responsibility of running our household. Cooking, cleaning, and daily chores became her lot. She rarely complained, always smiled bravely, her eyes reflected wisdom beyond her years inherent in her. While I was tending the cows and bringing home my meager earnings, she held out these coins to feed us both. She found joy in cooking simple dishes. Her resourcefulness turned the simplest ingredients into pleasant dishes that warmed our souls. We had no idea that a chance meeting with a group of musicians would soon change the course of our lives, opening a new chapter filled with both joy and heartache. Imagine a day when the air was filled with anticipation. Rumors spread like wildfire as the news of the musicians' arrival reached every corner of the village. People, young and old, gathered in the village square, wanting to witness this spectacle. The musicians built an improvised stage decorated with colorful fabrics and flickering lanterns. With the onset of dusk, the square turned into a magical kingdom. The first notes spread through the air, attracting everyone's attention. Each instrument seemed to speak its own language, combining to create a harmonious symphony that touched our hearts. And then the flutist stepped forward, a young man with eyes that held secrets and a smile that promised adventures. He began to play, and his flute sang tales of distant lands and forgotten dreams. When the music started, the crowd swayed in unison, immersed in a collective trance. Each note found a response deep in our souls, awakening emotions that we had long buried under the weight of our daily life. The villagers, often lost in their own problems, found a moment of respite, a common connection thanks to the power of music. The concert lasted until late at night. When the crowd dispersed, the musicians stayed, enjoying the aftertaste of their performance. Among them was a young man who charmed us all with his flute and dance. I soon found out that his name was Leo. He exuded an aura of mystery, and there was a depth in his eyes that hinted at countless stories and secrets. It was clear that he was more than just a musician. He was a storyteller, a dream maker, and a traveler through both worlds and melodies. While the villagers were chatting and sharing their thoughts about the concert, my curiosity got the better of me. With a timid but determined heart, I approached Leo. "Hi," I said. "Good evening," Leo replied. His smile, warm and sincere, calmed my nerves when we started talking. He spoke of music as a language that transcends words, and of his flute as an extension of his soul. I found myself attracted to his passion, his ability to express emotions that often defy description. In the midst of our conversation, Leo expressed a desire to learn more about the village and its way of life. "Can you show me your village? I'm very interested, and also tell me what you do here?" Leo asked. Impatiently, I invited him to visit the cow pastures with me the next morning. Leo and I ventured up to the hayloft. It was a place of rustic charm, a refuge away from the bustling village, where the sweet scent of hay intertwined with the soft lowing of cows, creating a symphony of tranquility. When we climbed the wooden steps and entered the hayloft, Leo's eyes sparkled with curiosity. He watched the cows with genuine interest. The world was so different from the one he had known before. Leo asked, "Hey, how's your day going? I heard that you work all day and milk cows." I laughed and decided to explain my daily routine by describing the nature of cows, their quirks, and the rhythm of life on the farm. His genuine admiration for my world filled my heart with a warmth I hadn't felt for a long time. With every word I uttered, I seemed to reveal a part of myself, sharing the simple joys and difficulties that define my existence. In turn, Leo shared stories about his travels, the places he saw, and the melodies he created. His stories were like windows to distant lands, filled with vivid images that transported me beyond our village. We laughed, exchanged dreams, and whispered secrets in that hayloft. Our connection deepened with each passing moment. It was among the haystacks and the soft rustle of hay that I felt an unspoken connection arise between us. In Leo's presence, I felt like I was being seen, heard, and understood in a way I had never experienced before. As we descended from the hayloft, I couldn't help but wonder if fate had brought Leo into my life for nothing. One evening, when the sun sank below the horizon, flooding the village with warm light, Leo surprised me with a small bag. "This is a gift for you. I'm sure it will help you in this difficult time." There was money inside, the amount with which I could buy food and ease the burden of my duties. His generosity touched my heart, and I couldn't help but be amazed by the kindness of this stranger, who has become much bigger. But it wasn't just money that filled me with hope. Leo's words were like a breath of fresh air, carrying the promise of another life, a life free from the framework of my daily struggle. He talked about a future in which I could leave behind milking buckets and pastures, plunging into the world of music, adventure, and love. "Imagine that you can leave here and start a new life. You won't have to milk the cows every day. You can do whatever you want." At that moment, a spark of hope flared up in me. The possibility of living beyond what I knew was tantalizing. But next to this hope loomed a cloud of doubt. Could I really leave behind the cows that have been my companions for so long? Could I exchange the familiar rhythm of the village for an unknown one? And so, with this bag of money as a symbol of opportunity, I began to think about the future, which I had never dared to dream about before. One day, when we were walking hand in hand through the village square, Leo stopped under a flowering tree. With a twinkle in his eyes, Leo turned to me and confessed his feelings. "Anna, when I came to this village, I immediately noticed you. You are a very beautiful and sincere girl. I really like you and I want to live with you for the rest of my life." His words were like the sweetest melody that resonated deep inside me. He talked about how our worlds collided, about the bond that formed between us in the hayloft and in whispered conversations. He talked about his dreams for us, dreams of a life intertwined with love and adventure. At that moment, I found myself caught up in a whirlwind of emotions. Could it be that love found me in the middle of my simple village life? I couldn't help but think about my sister, the unshakable pillar of my life. No matter how much I dreamed of a future with Leo, my sister's presence and well-being weighed heavily on my conscience. What to do? I really want to go to the city with my future husband, but what to do with my sister? One day I decided to write her a heartfelt letter in which I shared my newfound love and the opportunities that lie ahead. I expressed my longing for her to join me in a city where opportunities abound and dreams could be realized. Although she couldn't join me in the city, her support and love were unwavering. Diana, my sister, said, "Anna, don't worry about me. I love you very much and I think you deserve the best. Therefore, without a doubt, go to the city and live a better life." As time passed, my life in the city with Leo seemed like a dream to me, a beautiful reality that I had never imagined. But life knows how to surprise us, often with such turns that we never foresee. One day Leo came up to me with a heavy heart. He talked about his need to return to the village. "Anna, I need to go with my band of musicians to the village where you lived before. I hope you believe me and I'll be back very soon. I love you." His arguments were vague, and an unpleasant feeling settled in my stomach. But love clouded my judgment, and I agreed, hoping that this was a temporary separation. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, and the pain of his absence became more and more palpable. 2 days stretched into a painful eternity. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. And then, when the sun sank below the horizon on the 3rd day, there was a knock on the door. With trembling hands, I opened it and found Leo standing there, but he wasn't alone. His arm was around my sister, and the weight of their presence hit me like a blow. "Anna, Leo, what's going on? Why is my sister, Diana, hugging you? You went to perform with your band of musicians. Did you cheat on me?" "Leo, Anna, calm down. There has been no real love between you and me for a long time. I actually often go to this village to visit your sister to spend the night with her. I think she's much more interesting than you." A bitter revelation opened before me. It turns out that Leo went to my sister instead of long-distance business trips. But how could he do that? "Leo, I'm not interested in living with you and I want a divorce. After the divorce, I will immediately marry your sister and live happily with her in this house, and you will go back to your village to graze cows." The air became heavy with tension as Leo's words hung between us. My sister's presence added another layer of betrayal, and I struggled to make sense of the situation. How could this happen? I've done so much for her, sacrificed so much, and yet she decided to betray me in the worst possible way. There was no remorse in Leo's explanation. His words were cold and calculating. He explained that he was tired of our life together and that my sister's proposal was a way out of the situation. The man I loved, the one who promised me a future full of love and adventure, destroyed that promise with a callousness I could not comprehend. At that moment, my world collapsed around me. The pain was acute, the betrayal was a deep wound. Anger, resentment, and disbelief collided in me, causing a storm of emotions that threatened to engulf me entirely. In the midst of a storm of emotions, I found myself asking questions that I couldn't answer. Why did my sister agree to his courtship? What could have made her betray me, especially when I had done so much for her? Leo strongly told me to leave this house and come at the appointed time to sign some divorce papers. I packed my things and looked at my sister and my ex-husband before leaving. There was a malicious smile on their faces. I couldn't recognize them. After leaving home, I returned to my village. It's been so long since I've been here. Not knowing where to go, I decided to go to my neighbor and tell her about the whole situation. It turns out that my neighbor knew that my ex-husband came to my sister and didn't tell me anything about it. When I heard that, I was angry and left her house. The mood was disgusting and I didn't want to live anymore. But suddenly an idea popped into my head. I need to take revenge on them. I went to the store and bought matches and a light. After waiting for the night, I went to the city and got to the house where my husband and sister were. I set fire to the house, but the fire quickly went out and I had to flee the city. My hands dropped. My husband left me and my sister betrayed me. I knew that I needed to sleep and try to find a new meaning of life the next day. I lay down at the train station. In the morning, I boarded the nearest train and sat in an empty seat. I looked out the window with sad eyes and realized that now life would be completely different. We need to rebuild it. "Girl, is it free next to you?" a stranger asked me. I looked up and saw a man in a coat with a smile on his face. "Yes, of course it's free. Sit down," I replied. The stranger sat down next to me and we started a casual conversation. It turns out that the man had been single for 6 years and after the death of his wife did not communicate with anyone. I liked that he could openly talk about his experiences and it was interesting with him. It turns out we were going to the same city with him. The train stopped. I got off the train and didn't know where to go. The man noticed this and politely invited me to go to him. I agreed because I had no choice. The man had a huge house, and it turned out that he was a fairly well-off person. There was a connection between us. We had fun all evening. He was able to get me out of a bad state, and we spent the night with him in his bed. In the morning, I woke up to his voice. He made me breakfast. I realized that this is my man and decided to stay with him to live. How do you like the story? What do you think about her ex-husband and her sister? Write in the comments. I will be glad to read. And also, subscribe to the channel. I love you.